How are we doing, folks? Dave Brown back here with the New Populist. Thank you again for joining me. Well, it has happened again. The United States has assisted in removing a dictator from power in the Middle East. Of course, I'm talking about the fall of Bashar al Assad in Syria. And to be honest, kind of surprising. There was that push in the north by the rebels, but most people thought that the regime forces would rally and stabilize the situation, but apparently not. Assad has fled, and currently he is in Russia, where he's taking refuge. Now, to understand what's going on here, we have to go back to 2012 when, under Obama and the Hillary Clinton State Department, the CIA started a program called Timber Sycamore, where they started routing weapons to the rebels in Syria to fight the Assad regime, because it was our goal to bring Assad down. And that ran for several years, but under Donald Trump in 2017, the program was phased out. And Trump has posed a huge problem for the entrenched foreign policy establishment. That is why they hate him so much. He is against so much of what they want to do. So when he comes into power, 2017, this program gets shut down. 2018, he withholds weapons for Ukraine just for a little while, and they impeached him over that. And they spent the entire time in the deep state during his presidency accusing him of colluding with Russia and being a stooge of Putin, which of course he was not. And that really shows why they wanted him out of power in 2020, and they did everything they could, censoring stories that were true. 51 former Intel officials with the Hunter Biden laptop. They did everything they could to get him out of power, because in the United States, that third rail, that thing that you really can't go against, is foreign policy, and that is something that Trump did. So under Trump, we phased out this program where we were arming rebels in Syria, but apparently under Biden, it came back because we were certainly involved, as well as other players in our region. And just to show you the difference between Trump and Biden, just recently Trump said this on Truth Social: Syria is a mess, but is not our friend, and the United States should have nothing to do with it. This is not our fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved. Well, of course, we were involved. Our CIA absolutely was. So even recently, Trump is saying, please don't get involved. But here we are again, another country that has collapsed because the United States has, encouraged it in that direction, and God knows what happens next. But another aspect of this situation is U.S. hypocrisy when it comes to who we choose to call the bad guy. So we said that Assad was a dictator. He had to go. He was abusive, blah, blah, blah. We need to have a new government there, right? Well, the problem is the person who was or is leading the rebels is a man named Abu Muhammad al-Jolani. And here's the problem with him. His past associations were with Al-Qaeda. So when the rebels started fighting in Syria, they were a chapter of Al-Qaeda. But in 2016, they decided to change their name and to no longer, allegedly, be affiliated with Al-Qaeda. And this was reported in the Washington Post back in 2016. And here's what the Post said. Syria's Jabhat al-Nusra splits from Al-Qaeda and changes its name. Syria's Al-Qaeda affiliate split from its parent organization and changed its name Thursday in a move widely interpreted as a bid to head off a U.S.-Russian plan to launch joint airstrikes against the group. So that's a pretty good damn reason to change your name. You're about to get bombed. Jabhat al-Nusra announced that it would henceforth be known as Jabhat Fatah al-Sham, or Front for the Conquest of Syria, and said it no longer owes allegiance to Al-Qaeda. The announcement was made in a video statement delivered to the Al Jazeera television network by the group's leader, Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, who revealed his face for the first time since he declared the formation of the Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda in early 2012. Wow, so they changed their name, but they were a branch of Al-Qaeda. I mean, how does that work out? And what's even worse is that, they're part of Al-Qaeda, they changed their name, but we never, the United States, ever really took them at their word. And in fact, our State Department said, you can change the name, but we're really paying attention to what you do. And that statement was from John Kirby, who was still at the Pentagon now, and he's, I think, a 3 or 4 star admiral. So, same guy, he was in charge now at the Pentagon, or he's the spokesman, said in 2016, we don't really buy this. You're just changing your name. Well, apparently, somewhere along the way, we started to work with this group at some level because, again, he could not have done what he's done without the support of the CIA and perhaps even Mossad. So we are certainly working with this guy who we know was a prior member of Al-Qaeda and only changed his name to avoid getting bombed. And even Biden had to sort of acknowledge this because he gave a statement on what's going on there. Of course, he's very happy about the fall of Assad. But listen to what he says when he talks about the groups who were responsible for taking out Bashar al-Assad.
Third, we will engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime toward independent, sovereign, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria, with a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. And the United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief, to help restore Syria after more than a decade of war and generations of brutality by the Assad family. And finally, we will remain vigilant. Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses. We've taken note of statements by the leaders of these rebel groups in recent days, and they're saying the right things now. But as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions.
So there's Biden acknowledging that these rebel groups were involved in terrorism, but we're going to keep an eye on them and take notes to see what they do. Again, we get rid of Assad, and here we are saying a guy who's Al-Qaeda, who was involved in terrorism, we'll watch you and we'll see what happens. Are you freaking kidding me? And what even makes it even more sick is that while we sit there and play footsie with these terrorists, you have people like Tulsi Gabbard, who has been nominated to be the Director of National Intelligence. She is being attacked viciously by members of the foreign policy establishment for being a traitor, for being a Putin puppet. And recently, John Bolton, that knucklehead, he was attacking Tulsi and saying that because she went and spoke with Bashar al-Assad, that somehow she was, again, working for them and perhaps they have something on her. And here's what he said recently.
Yeah, I think she's totally unqualified to be a DNI, and I think her positions put her beyond the outermost fringe of American politics. When she visited Assad in Syria, he was effectively a Russian-Iranian ally. And what she said about Syria not being a direct threat to the United States, that was her justification for going, it's completely false. The Syrians and their combination with Iran and Hezbollah have posed direct threats to Americans across the region. They certainly pose a direct threat to key American allies, Israel and Jordan. And it's going to be very interesting to see what the files that may be uncovered in the Syrian government, if the rebels succeed in capturing Damascus, what they show about a number of Americans.
So that scumbag here is saying because she met with Assad, that she's, again, a traitor, essentially, and that when the rebels get to the capital, they might find some documents on her. But again, he's saying this about her while we are behind the scenes working with a terrorist group, or a group that was associated or part of Al-Qaeda, that changed their name and promised we're not going to be part of Al-Qaeda anymore. We're working with them. Meanwhile, he's attacking her for meeting openly with Bashar al-Assad. I don't get it. And, I found this from the FBI website, and it's still there right now. The guy, Mohammed al-Jalani, we have a $10 million reward for information on the leader of al-Nusra Front. So you can go right now to the FBI's website, and we still have him listed as somebody that the FBI wants because, as the U.S. State Department points out, he is a part of a terrorist organization. But now he is the head muckety-muck in Syria, leader of the rebel group, and now we're going to be watching him and working with him as they try to form some sort of government there. Is it going to be successful? Well, what is our record in the Middle East when we topple governments? We got Iraq, we got Afghanistan, Iran, we got Libya in North Africa. How did those turn out? Terribly. Not good at all. Afghanistan, we fought the Taliban for 20 years, and they're back in charge again. Libya is a failed state. And so, based on history, it's hard to be optimistic that something better can come out of Syria, especially when the lead guy is who he is. But I think the country is a little different because of its geography and the interest of the players in the region. You have Turkey to the north, obviously Israel to the south, and they've already moved up in the Golan Heights and occupied positions that were abandoned by the Syrian army, claiming they were doing so to buffer against Syria, when in reality, I think we know that Israel just wants those parts of the Golan Heights. So you have that factor. And of course, the United States has bases there. Russia had an interest. So because of all those players, I think it's a little different than the other countries. It's going to be really interesting to see how this all pans out with all the competing interests. And of course, January 20th, Donald Trump becomes president, and he obviously takes a very different view than Joe Biden. So what he does, I don't know. But man, he loses the election in 2020. Biden becomes president, and the world has just fallen apart. Ukraine and Russia, Israel, Palestine, and now Syria collapsing. And Donald Trump, it has to come now and clean it all up. But can he do that? I hope so. But man, the CIA, the foreign policy establishment, Biden, they gave him a gigantic mess. And it's going to be really, really hard for him to try to untangle all of these things going on right now. And with Assad falling, I wonder if these same neocons are going to be emboldened with Putin and think, oh, we got Assad. Maybe we can push on Putin next in Ukraine. Of course, Putin's not going to fall. But again, these neocons, they're crazy. They think anything's possible, even when they're wrong, a million times over. So who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be interesting times, and another country toppled by the United States in the Middle East. And I just kind of wonder what benefit it has for the United States. And as Biden said, we're going to be offering aid and this and all this help, spending more money on foreign countries while we in the United States are still struggling. We have our own issues, and now we have another country that's going to be on the dole. That's me getting U.S. dollars, and my God, will it ever stop? What's next? Taiwan? For the love of Christ, just stop already. But hopefully, with Trump in office, he can calm some of this stuff down, because it is becoming exhausting. And like I say in most of my videos, nowadays anything is possible, and that is kind of scary to think that anything could happen in this day and age. But we'll have to wait and see, and keep our fingers crossed that Trump can again get things to a better place. But we'll just have to wait and see. Well, that is it for now. If you are new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.